Okay boys, in this video we're going to do a quick one on characterization. This is pretty important, especially for our black snake unit. So we're going to be looking at characterization, and it's important to understand why characters are important, so how authors use characters to really get us influenced and make us form opinions on particular things. So here's the definition, and I'll get you to write this down. I'll move my head out of the way, and there's got three sort of sections. I feel like this gives us the best description of what characterization is. So characterization is a way that characters in the text are presented, okay, so the audience is guided to make certain judgments. Okay, so the way that the characters interact, the way that they are created or used, gives the reader certain, we create sort of judgments about that character, and it's a very typical, or it's a specific method that authors use, so it's important to understand. And the way that they do this is that it's the characterization is shown by the words, the actions and reactions of a character, okay, and how other characters speak about them. Okay, so it's not only just the main character, it's also how other characters influence and work with them. They show characterizations to how they deal with conflict. Okay, are they brave? Are they scared? How do we get an idea about how they act with conflict? And also through their thoughts and feelings. So you get that a lot, especially in narratives when they're using their own thoughts. We get an idea of their thoughts. So it's also important that we understand that they do it through costume and body language. So how they look. This can be done through film, but also through books. So how do they make them feel, or how do they look, especially when they're doing particular parts throughout the narrative. So the final part here is that it's through the characters that the readers understand different emotional and personal experiences. So the Black Snake book is a really good example of how, by reading it, we get different ideas of how the character is, whether we think Ned Kelly's a hero or a villain or a victim. This happens because of the way the characters interact, and we get an understanding of how that is with Ned Kelly. So there's two types of characterization, okay, and I'll get you to write this down. And again, we always are reminded by the show or tell philosophy, or implied and literal meaning. Now, the first one is the simplest way that we know with characterization. It's called direct characterization, and the writer makes a direct statement about a character's personality and tells us what the character's like. Okay, it's pretty specific. This is literal meaning. They might say, Ned Kelly gave an evil laugh. Okay, direct characterization, they're basically telling us that Ned Kelly gave an evil laugh, giving us the impression that he's evil. Now, the other version is called indirect characterization, and this is one of the most important ones, and one that we need to really be good at. And as here the writer reveals information about a character and his personality through the character's thoughts, words and actions. So again, this is the implied meaning thing that we've looked at earlier, along with how the characters respond to that character. Are other characters scared, or are other characters they find comfort in that character? How the other characters interact gives us a really good determination of indirect characterization, and it's including what they think and say about him. Okay, so we're starting to get an idea now how Black Snake really fits into this, because we've got the other characters, how they react to Ned Kelly, the direct characterization, not too much in Black Snake, because they don't really specifically say things. It's sort of how they use other characters to help us understand Ned Kelly. So here's a cool way, or a way that you can remember, of how authors create characterization, and they use this trick, and it's called steal. And I'll get you to write this down. So this is how they present the information of characterization, and it's done through speech, thoughts, the effect on others toward the character, the actions and the look. So these are all the things that put together give us a pretty good understanding of indirect characterization. So the speech, what does a character say? How do they speak? In the thoughts, what is revealed when what is revealed through their thoughts, or are they speaking about their feelings, etc. We get an idea of how we feel about their character by explaining their thoughts. The effect on others toward the character, are they scared of them? Are they happy for them? Do they work well together? Also, their actions is a very big one. What do they could say all these things, but what do they actually do? Do they do heroic actions? Do they do evil things? What do they actually do? And finally, as I said before, what do they look like? What does a character look like? Do they look strong and brave, and how do they dress? Okay, these all put together help us give us an understanding of characterization. So I'm going to quickly give you a chance now of how you can understand how characterization works. And hopefully you've seen this movie. Okay, it's called Megamind. It's one of my favorites. Okay, and I think Will Ferrell is the voice of the main character, and it's basically about a villain. He is a villain, but we also sort of feel we like him. He's sort of like the main character, so it's a really good example of characterization. So this is what I want you to do. At the bottom of this video, in the description, I've got a link to the first 5 minutes of Megamind, the movie Megamind, and it sort of goes into explaining how this character gets created, how he became about being a villain. So we sort of get an idea of how indirect characterization works. So what I want you to do, I want you to click on that link. I want you to watch the first 5 minutes of that movie, and I want you to fill in this table. Okay, so it's got all the steal method here. Okay, I want you to write some examples of how that works within the show in the first 5 minutes, and then I want you to explain how that works. Okay, so for example, his actions might be, I think just say that he blows something up. Okay, blows up something. The explanation will be, this clearly shows he is evil, or he's doing particular things to make other people scared of him. Okay, so I want you to watch the first 5 minutes, and I want you to fill in this document, and when you come in tomorrow we can sort of work this out, and we'll be able to explore this into a bit more detail. Thanks, boys.